Starting on Sunday, June the 15th, the critical forerunner to Emancipation celebrations, the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series is happening at the National Academy of the Performing Arts. And joining us this morning to share more is Dr. Asha Kambon, a member of the Board of Directors of the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Dr. Kambon, and welcome.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
It's wonderful to have
Early,
you with
but
us.
nice to be here.
It's wonderful to have you with us on this show. Thank you again so much for joining us. Before we get into the conversation of what's going to be happening this year, Dr. Kambon, can we go back to the evolution of the lecture series? It started in 1998 and definitely has evolved over the past few decades. How does that feel?
Yes, I think it's a wonderful process. I mean, it's been a great journey. We began the lecture series initially as the Emancipation Lecture Series, which occurred as it does now, just before the actual celebration. Since we always begin the celebration with the 25th of May, which is the African Liberation Day. But we had with us as a speaker just let's say in 19 I think it was 1980 89, we had our good brother Kwame Ture. Kwame visited us approximately a year or so before his passing, and spoke at the what was then the Spectacular Forum, spoke at the Central Bank. It was just an amazing visit of Kwame Ture, also known, of course, as Stokely Carmichael. And Kwame is quite an icon for civil rights movement in Trinidad, in North America. And after his transition, we decided to change the name of the lecture series from the Emancipation Lecture Series in honor of him. And so we called it the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series. So in a sense, that's how we got the name. And since then, it has really been a powerful process. We began with Dr. Kathleen Cleaver, actually. Kathleen Cleaver, as you might, some people, some of your listening audience may remember her name. She was the leading member of the Black Panther Party in North America. She subsequently became a lawyer. She was an amazing activist. And so we met her at the bedside of Kwame, actually, just before his transition, and before he went off to Guinea. And so Kathleen agreed to be our first, our inaugural speaker at the Kwame Ture Lecture Series. And since then, we've had we've been able to bring to the public of Trinidad and Tobago a number of critical thinkers and political activists. And it's just been quite a journey. It really has been led in the past by our good brother, Tracy Wilson. But Tracy himself made his transition a few years ago. And so I have been supporting the process of the Kwame Ture Lecture Series.
No, Dr. Kambon, one of the things that definitely draws people to the lecture series, aside from what you shared, is the fact that every single year there is something that is brought to the table that is going to provoke critical conversations. Last year in 2024, I believe there was a conversation around Palestine, around reparations and challenges when it comes to underdevelopment. This year in 2025, what are the themes and topics that will be explored?
Okay, and last year I should also highlight that our main speaker, our launch, usually sort of to give the thing energy that sustains it. Our launch last year was led by a young woman, Dr. Jemima Pear, and we actually spoke about Haiti last year at our launch, and then we followed through looking at other situations of crisis of African people, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but in the diaspora, which is usually the way in which we approach the lecture series. It's part of our knowledge building contribution to the population of Trinidad and Tobago. So this year, the focus will be decolonizing the mind, the relevance of Fanon in the modern Caribbean. And that's important to us because, of course, this is the 100th birthday anniversary of Frantz Fanon. And Frantz Fanon is just the most amazing thinker that we've had in the movement for decolonization. He spent the time of his struggle in Algeria, which is quite interesting because he's from Little Martinique. He was born in Martinique. And went to France to study psychiatry, and then found himself in a psychiatric unit in, I think, Algeria, and could not help but support the Algerian Revolution, seeing the pain and suffering of the people of Algeria at the time. So this year we will be focusing on, we begin our work with this amazing Professor Lewis Gordon, who is from the Caribbean as well. He is from Jamaica, actually, but he is the world-renowned, recognized scholar of Frantz Fanon. And he will be sharing with us his thoughts around this, the work, the thinking of Fanon on how do we, where have we reached in decolonizing the mind, and what do we address in that regard. The series, the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series this year, following this amazing lecture on Sunday, which launches it, then takes us to look at the issue of the miseducation of the African child. That will be our follow-up lecture, and that will be a panel discussion. It's going to be online. That's on the 29th of June. So this year we begin face to face, and then we move to hybrid. We move to online lectures, and following that lecture on the 29th, they're all on Sunday this year, on Sundays rather. We move to July 6th, which will be reparations and reparatory justice, because the theme for this year's Emancipation is shaping sustainable futures through reparatory justice. So we want to ensure that all of our listening audience, all of our participants in this year's celebration have a deep understanding of what do we actually mean by shaping sustainable futures through reparatory justice. So on the July 6th, we will then have our panel discussion on the issue of reparations and reparatory justice. And we ask the question, are we at the beginning or are we at the end? Because we hear so much about reparatory justice now. And when we began this discourse in 2000, imagine that, in South Africa, in 2001 at the UN World Conference on Racism and Xenophobia, that's when the issue of reparations began to be sort of take center stage. And we are now in 2025. So it's a good moment to ask, where are we in this long struggle for reparatory justice, and what does it mean? And following that, we round off the lecture series on July 13th, and that session is called Decoding Public Spaces. And that's a panel discussion around the issues of what's happening to our public spaces and why is it so important to address maybe the way in which they are centered, the way in which they are presented to us as people who live in them, and should we be doing something else with these public spaces? Of course, the Emancipation Support Committee, by the way, I should remind the audience, has spent many, many years calling for the change of the street name on which Kwame Ture was born and lived before he became that amazing icon in North America. And that's Oxford Street. And we have recommended to the powers that be for many, 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 so many years that I can no longer remember when we began that struggle. We've suggested to them that they change the name to Kwame Ture Street in honor of him. I mean, he is one of the most remarkable, what shall I say, person who has been struggling for social justice. His mark in North America is world renowned. I mean, people come to Trinidad just to find out, just to see his house, the house that he was born and lived in. He struggled to assist people to register to vote in North America. He transformed the voting landscape and America's democracy. They indicate that the centerpiece of that is people being able to exercise their right to vote. But in 1959, Kwame was on a bus leaving the university, Howard University, where he was being educated, to head down to the south to help people register to vote,
Yeah.
and faced jail and so on to do that. So yes, he is more than a figure that we should be honoring appropriately in Trinidad and Tobago. So many of our people have made their mark supporting issues of social justice across the world. And indeed, we should be recognizing those of our countrymen and women.
Yes, Dr. Kambon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As we close our conversation, could you just remind us where we can get more information and how we can attend the upcoming lecture series and the series of events that have already begun to roll out?
That's right. Thank you. Okay, so Sunday, you've got to leave your house and come to the Theatre 1, Napa, which is the University of Trinidad and Tobago's campus at Napa in Port of Spain. And there you will find us. The doors open at 4:30, and there are going to be some short films, both on Kwame Ture and on Frantz Fanon. So come early. Come early, find your seat. It's a small hall in the sense that only seats about 200. So you've got to get there early if you expect to get in and get a seat. We will try to have a little spillover space in the foyer so that people who arrive maybe a little late or arrive after all seats have been taken can at least still view the happenings in the hall. But we invite everyone to come out. By the way, we're going to have a special sort of a little treat for fathers who join us with their daughters or sons. And those daughters and sons are 12 and over, of course, because this is going to be quite a lecture. And the young people will appreciate it. And so we will be honoring the fathers who arrive with their sons or daughters over 12 at the Napa, at the UTT Theatre Hall number 1 on Sunday at 5 p.m. And we expect to have a great evening with our fathers and their daughters or sons on that day.
Well, Dr. Kambon.
And then thereafter, we'll be online. So you can just check us out on our Facebook page or our Instagram feed, and you will get all the information as to where indeed how to link on. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Kambon. Have a wonderful day. The Kwame Ture lecture series is happening. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned to the Now Morning Show. We'll be back after this break.